This is Learn from Others, where we interview a cross-section of successful individuals so you can learn from their experiences, achievements, and even their mistakes. We ask 4 questions that will educate and inspire. Greg Stanley will be your guide as we join our guest on a journey from adolescent daydreaming to success in today's world. Join us on this adventure as we learn from others together.
Well, welcome to Learn from Others, where we help others succeed by sharing success. I'm very excited to introduce our special guest today, Bill Rothermel. Bill, how are you doing today?
Very good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Well, before we find out what you're actually doing today, if you would, could you tell me what you want to be when you grew up?
Yeah, gee, great question. I had no aspirations, so to speak, as a child. No, I mean, I don't mean that in a bad way. I just never really had a particular career path that I thought that I wanted to follow. I was always a car nut as a child, from birth, literally. I was crazy about cars, which is weird because no one in my family was interested in cars whatsoever. But somehow I got the car gene. So I never really, moved that forward in any way, shape, or form. I went to college kind of aimlessly, and I guess my second year into college, I decided to become what was at that time called an urban studies major. And I thought that I would come out and work for a consulting and engineering firm and be involved in land planning and, environmental issues, adaptive reuse of old buildings, that kind of stuff. Well, that never happened. And prior to my graduation, I was offered a job with my friend from college selling cars.
Okay.
And in 1980, there were not a lot of jobs.
Right.
And especially for people graduating for college. So I had a choice. Do I want to flip burgers for $15,000 a year, or do I want to sell cars for $25,000 a year? And I took the car job, and I literally made $25,000 my first year.
Wow.
Which was pretty good in 1980, just graduating from college. So I did that for a few years and realized that I should never be involved in a family business, and had an opportunity via a client to talk to him and a few other people about getting into the real estate business. I made a decision, sink or swim. I swam and left the real estate business, or left the car sales business, working for somebody else, jumped headfirst into a partnership in a real estate company, and made it happen the very first day. So
wow.
I've never looked back, and this will be my 33rd year doing that.
Wow, that's really amazing, and that's an interesting career path because it's more of a meandering career path, would you say?
Yeah, it was definitely meandering at the beginning, but I had the gift for sales, and I had the gift, and when I say that, you just have to understand how to gauge people and read people and talk to people and deal with people, and I had that gift, and so sales was a natural for me, and that's where my direction headed. I figured I had the sales gift because I worked part-time for a car dealership when I was in college, and as I was the lot boy, if anybody knows what that is. I washed cars and ran people home from service appointments and stuff like that. And before I graduated the end of my senior year, the owner of the dealership came to me, his family, I should say, and he was a year older than I was. We got along really well, and he said, "There's a job here for you in sales. We need somebody." So, 5 months before the end of my graduation, I was selling cars and actually doing an okay job at it. And then when I graduated, I had a job available to me from a friend of mine from college in his family business, and I sold cars for them and was extremely successful. And as I might have mentioned, I had a choice between $15,000 a year flipping burgers or making $25,000 a year selling cars, which at the time in 1980 seemed pretty good when
right.
jobs were tough, and that's what I did. So I always felt I had the gift of BS, and I say that in a positive way because you have to know how to, handle people and deal with situations and diffuse bombs and I was pretty good at it. And I was more than pretty good at it. I was very good at it. So that's the direction I went.
Right, right. Yeah, that's really amazing. And I think your career journey will speak to a lot of our students because, like myself, I did not have any particular aspirations when I was a little kid or when I was in college. And knowing that you're able to find your way, find a path, find a profession that you really like, enjoy, and are successful at, I think that's a good message to get to kids. And it seems like your career journey is just that, correct?
Absolutely. People say to me, "What do you do for a living?" And I say, "I'm a very highly paid babysitter that diffuses bombs and talks people off the ledge."
Right.
That's
right.
what I do all day long.
It just happens to be in the world of real estate, right?
Exactly. And you get to a point where you're very good at it after a period of time, and you can almost say, I've experienced that before, and my job is to put people at ease.
Right.
And everything is always the latest, greatest crisis, and my job is to fix the crisis and talk them off the ledge.
So at what moment did you know that the real estate industry was home for you? Like, this is a job that you felt like would be a career?
That's funny. Probably the day that I started my job in real estate in 1988, I went to a firm that was a partnership, in essence, and day one, looking out the window, I had to write a check to be sitting there looking out the window, which means I had to make things happen. And at that time, I sent out a mailing to all my clients and announced that I had made this change, this career change, and I appreciated their loyalty and over the years, and would they give me consideration when it came time for their real estate needs. And the very first day, my telephone rang, and a girl called me up, and she said, "You sold me a car, now you're going to sell me a house."
Wow.
And that's when I knew I made the right decision. And then it fell into place from there.
Wow, that really speaks to your customer service from that client.
Yeah, I had very loyal, and to this day, I have extremely loyal clients, yes.
Wow, that's really, really cool. Okay, cool. As a reminder, you can check out all previous episodes at learnfromothers.org. And if you're an educator or a student, you can search for podcasts by career cluster. So, Bill, we learned what you wanted to be when you grew up, which you weren't quite sure, and then what you do today. So looking back on your career, what would you do differently?
Well, I probably would have gotten into real estate a lot earlier. On the other hand, by virtue of the fact that I lasted almost 8 years in the car business, I developed a huge client list that enabled me to go from one job to the other, take my client list with me that I had developed over that period of time. They knew who I was, what I was all about, what kind of service I offered, how I handled myself professionally, and they came with me. And had I not had that list of 1,000 clients or whatever it was to bring with me, I probably could not have done it as successfully as quickly as I did. People that get in the real estate business have a lot of sunshine blown their way in terms of telling them, you're going to make huge sums of money and you're going to be able to set your own time and you're going to be your own boss, and that's total 100% BS. The
Right.
average real estate agent makes less than $40,000 a year, and you have absolutely zero control over your time. Because what happens when you have a client who says, "I have to see that house now," and you have to go to your kid's Little League game, you've got to make a choice as to what it is you're going to do. And oftentimes you say, "I can't do that," or "I'm not able to do that now, but I can do it later." As you develop your career, you have the ability to do that. But when you're getting started, first in the business, you've got to really be prepared to lick people's boots. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a lot of work, and to your point, you're building a business from the ground up. Even if you're associated with a, real estate firm, it's on you, right?
It's on you. It's all yours, and you have to make it happen or not. That is correct, yes.
Wow, that's amazing. All right, now let's talk to the person who wants to do what you do, I guess, to be a real estate professional. Is that how you would phrase it?
Yeah, I think that's a fair estimation, yeah.
Yeah, what advice would you give them? Is there a typical career path?
Well, back to what I said, I think people enter into it with the wrong type of mindset. They expect that they're going to make big money. And that's hardly the case. I mean, it's a very, very tough row to hoe. And it takes, 7 or 8 years till you start seeing a really decent kind of return or repeat in terms of business. That just doesn't happen overnight. And if you can stick with it, all the better. I think the best way for people to get involved in the real estate business is to try and align themselves with somebody who's already well established and needs help. And you go in as an assistant or as perhaps a buyer's agent or a buyer's specialist, or that person can help give you direction and help guide you, because otherwise, where are all your leads going to come from? How are you going to make connections with people? An established person, or even better yet, what about a person who has 3 to 5 years down the road said, I'm going to retire and I'm looking for someone to take over my client list or my book of business. That's the ideal way to get involved and work for that person and really try and establish yourself through the eyes of somebody else who's been very successful.
Right. So basically you're taking over their books, but you work with them as an assistant or whatever role to get to know the customers, get to know the way to do it, everything like that, right?
Exactly. And be taught by somebody that knows the right way of doing things and understands business. Exactly.
Yeah, and I guess the really good advice for students would be go into it understanding how hard it is, correct? Like, don't think it's this cakewalk, right?
That is very true, yes.
Well, cool. Well, what's the best way for our listeners to learn more about you and your business?
My website is www.billrothermel, BILLROTHERMEL.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing your career journey with us today, Bill.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to Learn from Others, where we help others succeed by sharing success. Where will our next adventure take us? Subscribe to find out. If you know of someone who has a cool career story or occupation, contact Greg through Instagram at Greg Stanley LFO. That's GregStanley LFO. And we will see you soon as we learn from others together.